Ready? Play.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Tennis. I'll be bringing you coverage from today's last match on centre court in Santiago between two Chileans in Alejandro Tabilo, the number 4 seed, against a good friend of his, Marcelo Tomas Barrios Vera. The two know each other very well, grown up together, both in Chile at the same time. They're actually doubles partners this week, so they clearly know each other's games very well. There's no secrets there. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Obviously, a bit of a later start because Sebastian Baez was on court just before coming back from a set down to get the win against Barrios, the Peruvian. So yeah, interesting to see what happens in this one. Baez obviously fresh off the back of that title in Rio, so he'll be feeling it, especially after another 3-setter here. It's a solid start from Barrios Vera. He's got 4 from 4 in their head-to-head. They played twice in 2017 at Futures events, and then not again for another 6 years until last year when they played twice again, both on clay. And Tomas Barrios Vera won both of them. He's won all 4 of their head-to-head meetings, which is quite surprising considering that Tabilo's the more successful player. You know, obviously getting that first tour level title in Auckland this year, what an emphatic start to the year, albeit a relatively, weak draw, some would say, but to take advantage of a 250 like that is, it's a big feat nonetheless, definitely so. But yeah, as I say, both of them last year had quite a lot of success on the Challenger Tour. 4 for Tabilo, 4 titles for Tabilo in 2023, and 2 for Barrios Vera. So they're obviously they've cemented they set themselves on the Challenger Tour. Now it's probably time for Tabilo to step up and cement his place on the tour, and he is doing so, being seeded the 4th seed at 250 like today like this week in Santiago. Big fist bump there to close out the game. Clean service hold to 15 for Barrios Vera. He's obviously pumped, and when you've got a game like this where you're playing against a good friend of yours in Tabilo, I think it's always tough playing a mate, but I think he's just got to keep pumped, keep the energy levels high. It's difficult. It's a difficult one, you don't know how you should act really on court, and you don't want to kind of, get on in the bad books with your mate, but also then again, you're here to win, so you've got to do anything for it. And I'm guessing that the 0-4 in the head-to-head is obviously going to be in the head of Tabilo, so it'll be about dealing with that in a game that he technically should be winning on paper. So it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that and deals with a certain level of pressure, not only because of his level, but also because he's playing against a good friend of his. They've actually got their doubles semi-final tomorrow as well, playing against the partnership of Nicolas Barrientos and Rafael Matos, the number 3 seeds, who are, if I say so myself, I've seen them a lot on the Challenger Tour. They're now kind of bringing their game to tour level. So that'll be a tough one either way. We'll see what happens in this though. A couple of wild returns there from Barrios Vera, and Tabilo goes 30 love up. And another ace, 40 love. Some quick fire service games here. It's going to be a grind, this second round match between the two of them. Interestingly, they're both obviously clay court players. You would assume, being South American, growing up on the red dirt, but it's actually been on the hard courts in Auckland that Tabilo was able to win his first tour title. I always find those a bit surprising. It's a title from nowhere, really. I mean, he had, produced success on the Challenger Tour, yes, but if you were to say that Tabilo was going to be the winner in Auckland when you had a field of, Norrie, Feast, and other players, you would not pick him. But hey ho, that's tennis for you there. I think Norrie did withdraw as well from their semi-final match, so took advantage of the draw. But you got to have a bit of luck to make it on tour. So fair play. Bit edgy from Tabilo, trying to close out this game from 40 love up back to 40-30. So the winner of this match will play Luciano Darderi in the quarter-final. Obviously, Darderi, another player coming up from the Challenger circuit and making a name for himself. Won Cordoba this year, his first tour title, coming through qualies there to take the title. What an effort. It's a lovely drop shot there from Barrios, Vera, and he gets it back to deuce. So clearly, even from the get-go here, we're starting to see pressure instilled in Tabilo's head. Fifth meeting against his friend. Can he finally get a win on the board? Will it be fifth time lucky? He definitely looks the more nervous out of the two. It's a big serve, though. He's going to need a lot of that. Both players have got a big serve. So that's going to be utilised a lot today. In the previous round, Barrios Vera did defeat a fellow Chilean as well in Christian Garin, who's having a bit of an up and down couple of years, really. I mean, remember when he first kind of cemented his status on tour, and since then, I mean, it's been a bit downhill, especially in the last year. He's kind of struggling to string wins together, and obviously Barrios Vera took advantage of that yesterday. Hello, Sport and Politics. Good evening. Get involved with all the content as well. We've got Juan Ignacio on the ground in Santiago. He's going to be bringing you all the exclusives from the week here in Chile. So be sure to check out the socials on Talking Tennis to keep up to date. I'm happy to be here, Sport and Politics. Happy to be back on Talking Tennis, covering and talking more tennis. Yeah, it's a big forehand now. It's always an interesting part of the season, this South American swing, because it is genuinely more so than the European hardcourt swing or the North American swing. There's a lot of big, how do I say, maybe success stories coming from these tournaments. The amount of homegrown talent that we see crop through. Obviously, yeah, you get the wild cards in other tournaments, but I don't know. It's just the South American swing. It just has a feel about it, and every year, you're not disappointed. You're always going to see a success story, like for example, Darderi winning in Cordoba, or Fonseca, bursting onto the ATP scene last week in Rio, and it's nice to see. You don't really get it that often with the other swings. So Holger Rune to turn it around this week. Well, turn his season around, you mean? Or because he is having a pretty shocking start to the season. I mean, all the issues with the coaching switch ups, getting rid of Becker and Federer's old coach as well. Back with Moratoglu for a third time. Will it work? Who knows? I mean, I think he's definitely a good coach, but I feel like with Moratoglu it's a tough one. Especially the situation that they've had. There was a lot about it in the Breakpoint series in Netflix. Rune's quite a tough guy to please, so it's tough working with him. But I'm sure they've had a big chat about how they're going to approach this stint in this new partnership together, and hopefully, it works out. I mean, he needs to get some wins on the board if he wants to be pushing for the second week in slams and pushing far at Masters events, which is ultimately what the Dane wants to do. So, Barrios eventually gets the hold there after a bit of a nervy couple of points. Pretty big forehand there. Some big hitting early on from the two Chileans. As I say, this is it's the fifth meeting between the two. Tabilo's yet to get one on the board over his counterpart, over his compatriots, Barrios, Vera, but will tonight be the night in front of the home crowd? Pressure's on. You can already see Barrios Vera is really up for this, really in the mood. Tabilo seems a bit wary. He knows that the pressure's on his back. Will he be able to deal with it? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Be interested to see what everyone thinks, because on paper, I mean, Tabilo is the favourite here. So he should be winning. But their last 4 head-to-head meetings would say otherwise. And in front of a home crowd in Chile, additional pressure. We'll see. Either way, it'll be interesting to see what happens in their doubles match, doubles semi-final tomorrow. Really didn't like being told what to do. Maybe Muratoglu is better with younger players. Yeah. I mean, so many factors that come into play. I mean, I think I saw it was Tom and John previously did a little video on it, and I remember watching that. There's so many things and factors involved in Muratoglu and his coaching style. Maybe he is better with younger players. Yeah, you're right. I mean, an argument to that would be that he took Serena Williams to 10 Grand Slams during their partnership. But of course, then again, it is Serena Williams, so don't know how much of that was Moratoglu. But yeah, I mean, I think Moratoglu is quite. You can tell he's obviously he's a very knowledgeable coach. He knows what he's talking about. But I feel like he's quite business minded. He's got that. He's the tycoon of tennis. He's got that business approach. He's very marketable. So yeah, I think that definitely plays a part. I think Rune maybe likes that. He likes the attention in that way. It's quite a stylish approach. I'm not sure. I just I mean, I hope they've really dug into what Rune needs to work on, because I mean, he's got to the top in the last year, top of the game really. He wants to push on now, so what is going to be the key between him and a Sinner or an Alcaraz, who seem to be quite far ahead of the Dane at the moment. So yeah, very interesting. It's a big forehand there from Tabilo, getting back up to 30-15. Is Muratoglu more of a tycoon than Federer? It's a great question. I mean, probably not. Um, I mean, definitely not. But I would like to call him a bit of a tycoon. He's a very renowned coach. Talking of Federer. I mean, I'd like to see Federer back in the coaching setup. I don't know what he's really up to in retirement these days. I know he's got a lot going on with his foundation and various other stints, but wouldn't mind seeing him in someone's coaching box in years to come. Yeah, pretty wild return there from Barrios Vera. Another holds, 2 games all. In his first round match, Barrios Vera overcame Garin, as I said. Those were 2 quite tightly contested sets. I think it was 7-6, 7-5. So, could we see another tight match here? We all know how these clay court grinds can go. So we'll see. Yes, nice return there from Tabilo, straight at the feet of his opponent. Yeah, I mean it is so true. I was talking about it the other day actually, in football, because a lot of those like South American players, they've grown up in poverty, so earning a decent wage is part of it for them. And that's why they'd be willing to sacrifice maybe a better deal at sacrifice some of their playing time maybe to earn these wages. That they're not complaining. They'd still see it as a successful career if they were earning enough money to help their family, generational wealth or whatever. And it's similar in tennis, I think, but in the sense that players, yeah, as you say, it's so hard to stay afloat. But I think when you're at the top of the game, it's less of an issue. So when players get carried away with it, then it's definitely upsetting to see because, yeah, there's not much, need for it. But I suppose no one can really. When you've got it, you're not going to complain, are you? So, but yeah, I think it's at lower levels. I think it's tough. Yeah, completely agree. Tennis is one of the most top heavy sports I think I've ever ever come across. Really, I mean, I did my dissertation at uni a few years ago on French tennis, and I took a deep dive into the French Tennis Federation and what their efforts, what they're doing to help make the sport more accessible. And yeah, it's crazy kind of looking into the actual data behind it. That you need to be in the top 250 to really be making a living from tennis. So yeah, I mean, to get to the top, it is extremely difficult, and I think if you haven't got that, generational wealth, it's quite hard to make it to the top. Um, But yeah, I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, outside of pro tennis to get people into it. There's still so much diversifying that could be done um, across the world, not just in the UK or in Europe, anywhere. I think there are a lot of countries that do a good job, and you know, as I think we were talking about before, um, South American tennis in South America is quite a big part of their culture, and they pride themselves on these 250s and these. They have loads of challenger tournaments. They pride themselves on that. And I think efforts need to be made lower down the root of it to get more people into the sport, get a more diverse background um, of 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 people playing. Pretty wayward there from Barrios. Vera brings up the first break point of the match for Tabilo, the fourth seed. I did a deep dive into Chinese Tennis Association. And I was trying to understand her decisions. Yeah, tell me more about that. I'm intrigued by that. Her decisions about what? About retirement or? And Tabilo gets the break, first break of the match. He's done well there. He's pushed it right onto the backhand of Barrios, who struggles and pushes it long. First fist bump of the match as well for Tabilo. So, he's clearly, now he's in the mood. Another one there when he's sat down. Yeah, I mean, that. Yeah, there are definitely Australia do great things in America as well. I mean, of course, Europe there are things being done, but it's more of a. I think it's more of it's an identity issue for most of it. We need to make tennis be seen as something for everyone. I think a lot of the time people would choose not to get into tennis because they don't think it's for them, and it's about identifying that and making the sport more appealing to different members of society, the less well off, the ethnic minorities, but I don't know, certainly in the UK it's terrible, and I think a lot needs to be done. Oh wow, I didn't know that. And is that for every Chinese player on tour, or is that only a select few that get the funding? Um, I suppose if they cover everything, then maybe that is fair enough, that percentage, because what you just mentioned there is that there are a lot of costs involved. So if they're all covered, then sort of makes up for it. That is interesting. I was unaware of that. Yeah, I think you've got to be able to have the right to choose your own coach. I mean, that's not how success is going to be forged. A very quick service hold from Tabilo here, backing up the break nicely with some big serving. Also, anyone in the stream, pop in a comment. I want to hear your thoughts on and the whole Andy Murray situation. Obviously, he's announced. Well, I mean, he said yesterday that maybe after the Olympics, after the summer, that he hinted at that being his last time. I think there's a lot being said about it, and I think almost too much is being said about it. Although he is obviously a great of the sport, I don't think it's right to keep questioning him about his retirement plans as of yet. But yeah, because it's interesting about the Chinese Tennis Association, because with the French one, and I'm sure it's the same with many other tennis associations, that they only choose a select few to offer the funding out to. So I'm not sure how they how that's what the criteria for that is, or what that's based on. But yeah, but yeah, going back to Murray, I just mm, yeah, it'll be a devastating time. I mean, it already is a devastating time. Um, Seeing Murray kind of just painfully going through each match, barely barely being able to play. He's a shadow of his former self, and it is upsetting to see. But I think he's got a right to still be out there giving it his all, and fair enough. I mean, another person we can talk about, which would upset me, would be Denis Shapovalov, former world number 10, who Murray actually beat earlier this week. But he's another player that is just, I know he's been hampered through injury, but even before then, he was struggling to fill his potential. Um, and now he's just in a big rut this year, and I hope he can pull some wins together, because it's tough. Mm. Yeah, IMG have created some very successful players over the years, for sure. Still do. I mean, the likes of Madison Keys, I think, Sloane Stevens, those kind of players. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if he made one deep run, a last one in uh, in SW19, but yeah, but don't know how likely that is. We'll see. Even winning a match at Wimbledon now would warrant a big celebration for Murray. I completely agree with you there about Chapo. He's definitely one of my favorite players on tour, for sure, and that's why it's so upsetting to see him go through these periods. It's a bit like Auger-Aliassime, not to the same extent, but those Canadians there are struggling to fulfill their potential. Shapovalov should really be a solid top 20 player. I mean, he's been around on tour for about 6 years now, and he got to number 10, but this guy's made like semis at Wimbledon a couple of times. He's made deep runs at slams. He's won titles. He's beaten the big players. It's really tough to see him. Yeah, I agree. Me, the same for me, and that's why it's so tough to see him in this state that he is. That's big confidence from Barrios there to come to the net to close that out, save the break point, and force it back to juice. Although Tabilo does have another break point opportunity. Chapeau did beat Rafa. I think it was in Toronto, I'm pretty sure, at the Rogers Cup 2017. Burst onto the scene as a little kid. Um, Goosebump moment. It's a poor backhand from Barrios. I think he slipped on the way in, just pulled it into the net. we've seen this a lot from Barrios. He's got the game for it, but you know he can just you know unwind and unravel at moments. So it's about staying strong and staying focused here, keeping the ball in play. I think with a player like him, he can often be going for too much. But against a player with Tabilo's consistency, you need to keep the ball in play. That will help there. Lovely forehand. And follows up with a beautiful drop shot. Jake Davies, good to see you. Hello. Feel free to chime in, Jake. Just been talking about Chapo not fulfilling his potential, and also Murray and retirement chat over Murray, which I'm sure you have some opinions on. So whack them in the chat for sure. Another break point here for Tabilo. Is he going to convert? It's a pretty wild game from Barrios. Just when you think he's trying to get back in it. And he eventually gets the break. Commanding lead for the number 4 seed. Closing in on a pretty subpar first set from Barrios, taking advantage. They'll take nothing away from Tabilo. Staying in these rallies, forcing the errors, forcing the way with forehand from Barrios. It's closing on a first set, which would mean that he would be 1 set away from a first win against his compatriot at the 5th time of asking. Probably about time that the way these guys, about their contrasting seasons and, you know, the past year or so. Both successful at challenger level last year, both win titles at challenger level. Suddenly Tabilo bursts through a 250 and takes the title on a hard court, whereas, you know, Barrios has never really pushed on at tour level, probably confined to qualies of 250s and challengers. So unless his ranking improves at the minute, it's 111th in the world at the moment. If it improves, then he'll be able to play in those 250 main draws. And at the moment, he's got to go through qualies. Tabilo, on the other hand, with a couple wins here in Santiago, he can break the top 50 and, you know, become a solid player inside the top 50, warranting the status as a seeded player in a tournament like this. Crowd obviously pumped up. They want to see some action here. It's the last match on centre court. They want to go out with a bang. Although it doesn't look like Barrios is going to have anything to do with these serves. Some booming first serves from Tabilo, showing exactly what that left arm is capable of. Tabilo looks a lot more settled now. at the start of the match, he looked pretty wary. He knew what he was up against. He knows Barrios' game inside out. That's 14 from 14 first serve points won from Tabilo. That's very impressive. It just goes to show you how ruthless he is behind that first serve. You know, if it's not an ace, it's going to come back with interest. But some solid serving here in this opening set. Just guiding it down the line, the backhand winner. Yeah, I did see that, Sean. I saw it got the green light. Really looking forward to that. I think they'll surely do more of those with other players as well. I hope they do because Breakpoint. I don't know what everyone's opinions on Breakpoint are on Netflix, but I think there's a lot of things that could be done better. I know they're trying to appeal and bring tennis to you know in an explainer kind of way. They're trying to bring tennis to a wider audience through that, and I get that. And they force these rivalries, they make it exciting. It's the same as they do in Drive to Survive, but I'm not sure. I think I was watching a couple of the rugby ones from the Six Nations, and I think they do it so well. It's so well made, but we shall see. Yeah, it's a casual, fan friendly for sure. It's still good to see though. I mean, these kind of series brings any kind of light to the sport. It's exactly what we need. So we need to get people talking about it, and that's why we need figures such as Kyrgios. Um, hate him or love him, he brings people to the sport, and that's ultimately what we need. So long may it continue. Start the second set now. Barrios Vera to get things underway. In danger of the match unraveling from him. Yeah, that's solid play. It's got to be that good from Barrios Vera to win these points. Forcing the error from Tabilo. Yeah, it's going to be a tall order for Barrios Vera to get back in this match. Tabilo's doing all he can. Just feel like he's on paper. He's got it, and maybe he's at a turning point in his career where he is probably ready to beat Barrios Vera at the fifth time of asking, having not beaten him on 4 occasions. Maybe he has just got that intensity levels just right at this point in his career, the start of the season, winning a title. Maybe he's now ready to get one over on him. So we'll see. It's not what he wanted early on. Can't seem to find his first serve, and it's proving to cost him. He's going for his shots, but it's so wayward from Barrios, and that's what we've seen so many times. I've watched Barrios at challenger level a lot before, and he is a dangerous, explosive player. But when he's missing shots like this and he's in this kind of mood, things can start to unravel pretty quickly. This is what is in danger of happening now if he doesn't get his mind back in the game. Yeah, that's a big serve. Exactly what he needed. Tabilo unable to get that serve returned back in play. Also, let me know in the comments your Dubai predictions for the 500 there this week. I'd be intrigued to see how those semis play out tomorrow. That's nice play from Barrios. Vera. Gets away with it in the end, but a beautiful drop shot to win the point. It's got to be this good. Will Medvedev win another title there? Will Rublev be the one to spoil the party? He is a 500 merchant after all. It does indeed. Humbert's playing some inspired tennis this season. Hopefully, he can keep it up. I mean, he was on the brink of defeat today. I think it was 3 match points against Hurkacz. Comes back, wins the third set. Medvedev on hard court, though. I mean, just, the guy is looking good. And he's improved his net game as well. Yeah, it's a fair suggestion. Definitely is possible. Yeah, I mean, if Humbert can somehow, dismantle Medvedev's game, then he's got a chance. But, I think against these types of players, Medvedev will just always prevail. I think he rarely loses to a player of Humbert's quality. But, anything can happen. I don't think he's played in a tournament since the Aussie Open, so we'll see how it goes. I think, yes, Rublev has beaten Medvedev. I'll just get their head to head up. He definitely has, but yeah, I mean, it's not many times, but I do remember, I think they played at a couple of, I think it was a 250 and 500 that he won. So, okay, so it was actually the ATP Finals 2022. Rublev won in 3 sets. And then Cincinnati Masters in 2021, Rublev won again in 3 sets. So yeah, he's beaten. I mean, it's 7-2 head to head, but yeah, Bublik is playing so well at the moment. I don't know what is going on with that guy. I mean, last year I wrote an article because he started the year so badly. Somehow found his form in the grass swing. You know, that summer had a nice string of tournaments, and then finished the year so strong. Started it unbelievably. You know, winning in Montpellier, getting to obviously the semis tomorrow in Dubai. Inspired tennis from the Kazakh. Um, but yeah, Tabilo pulling out all the shots here. Cleanest of forehand winners there up the line. Rolling through the service games now. That's a huge serve +1 from Tabilo. Wow. On the stretch. Manages to put away the smash without hesitation. I mean, who knows? We could have some big upsets in the men's Dubai as we did in the women's, of course, last week with Swiatek falling short to Kalinskaya in the semis. You know, just as we thought we were getting a bit of consistency at the top of the women's game, we get Sabalenka losing first round and then Swiatek in the semis, and we get a final with a 40 ranked player against a 26th ranked player in a Masters final. So who knows what may happen in the men on the men's side, but quite unlikely, I think, that that Umber is going to be able to take Medvedev down, or Bublik take Rublev down, but you never know. It's a good start to the game from Tabilo, just forcing these errors from Barrios. He keeps doing it, you know, and he's got a booming forehand, but if you keep going and 100%, 120% for these shots, you know, they're not going to be finding the line too often. And that's what's happening. Yeah, I mentioned it earlier about how this South American clay court swing is beautiful for the sport because it has all these homegrown talents. It gives them a platform to push on for. And we see it so often, you know, with Darderi winning in Cordoba. We had obviously João Fonseca um, getting a couple of ATP wins in his home city. But yeah, let's talk more about him. What do people think? What's his? You know, obviously, he's only 17, but how high can this guy go? I mean, pretty electric forehand. It's just the pullback on it and the acceleration is just unbelievable. The injection of pace. It'll be interesting to see how far he can get. I don't think it will be one of those, you know, couple of wins and out kind of stories. I think he'll be up and amongst it, and he will be a top 30 player, a consistent top 30 player. I think it's just about whether he can, you know, produce this kind of form on hardcore as well. He obviously won the boys' US Open last year, I think it was. So you know, he can play on hard as well. But you know, we'll see if he can mix it with the top guys on the tour. Definitely. Wow. Yeah. I mean, wouldn't be surprised to be fair. I wouldn't mind him as a hitting partner. Very, very clean technique. So Barrios Vera is now in danger of letting this second set and the match run away from him, as he's got to deal with 2 break points here. Saves the first of them. Massive first serve helped him out there. Yeah, he definitely is going to be the one to watch this year. Likewise, Jakub Mensik, talking about clean techniques. Jakub Mensik, he is going to be one to watch in my opinion. It's good to see him, now producing some inspired form on the ATP tour after, not the most successful of careers on the Challenger Tour, but he's putting stringing wins together, and he's finally reaping the rewards. Getting to these types of big tournaments now with the wild card. So we'll see how he fares and how he comes along. But it's fair coming up with the goods when it matters. 2 break points down, brings it back to juice. That's a massive couple of points there. If you can hold out this game, then it will be put the pressure right back on Tabilo. I don't know. Also, let me know, guys, what you think. But that's a big hold. But let me know what you think I see it so often in tennis. I'd love to look at the statistics behind it, but when you have break points and you don't convert them, how often does a player then get broken in the next service game? I'd love to see the stats behind that, because I see it happen so often on tour and at challenger level as well. It's such a mentality thing. But yeah, I think if we see that, let's see if we see that now from Tabilo, but wouldn't be surprised if we did. Tabilo now to serve 1-2 down in this second set. He's got to find a way to just keep composed. He's in a commanding position in this match. You just can't let it slip away from him. Barrios is on his toes though. He won't go out without a fight. So we'll see what happens in the next few service games. Here we go. Could it happen? Could it be the commentator's curse once again? Nervy start to the game from Tabilo. Very nervy start to the game. Will he rue those missed opportunities from the previous game? We'll see. That's his first point that he's lost on first serve in that first point, but he's made it back with a couple of big points here. Jerome, who are your favourite tennis players? We were talking a lot about Shapovalov. I think, I don't know, for some reason, for the last 6 years, ever since he's been around, he's stuck with me. Um, Mainly because of the fact that he's never really playing at his full potential, and I'm just really rooting for him to get back to the top. He's such an electric player, and I love his game. It's so confusing to see how he just can't get wins anymore. So Shapovalov is one of them, and Talon Griekspoor is probably another one up there as well for me. Followed his success a lot in 2022 on the Challenger Tour when he won. It was 7 titles, I think, that year. And now he's obviously, I think he's won 3 tour level titles. So he's, cementing his status as a top 30 odd player, which is good to see. Definitely those two up there. I do like other players such as to be fair, I'm more of a sounds pretty rogue, but I like these kind of rogue players. Like Griekspoor, it's quite a rogue choice, I think. If you ask a casual tennis fan, I mean, who would do a favorite tennis player be? They wouldn't say Griekspoor, would they? But I don't know. It's just you have a personal connection with these types of players. Yeah, really like Corda as well. Hope he gets back. Same with Berrettini. But to be honest, Rublev actually is another big one. I remember I chatted to him at the UTS event in London last year in December, and he was one of the guys that was just such a super chill guy. I mean, he's always joking around. So yeah, I think Rublev, like him as well. I've picked him to make it to a Slam final this year, so we'll see how that prediction goes. But yeah, got to love a rogue choice. Got to. What about you, Jake? I've been following you on Twitter for a while now, Jake. Actually, so it's good to see you in here watching the streams. I remember you were. I can't remember what her name is. I think it was that Georgian tennis player that you used to follow. Follow her career. I can't remember what she's called, but yeah, definitely. Also, what's anyone else's rogue tennis predictions or favorite players? Stick them in the comments. I'd like to see if anyone has any as rogue as mine. I've put Naomi Osaka to win a Slam this year. That's my rogue choice. I've also put Shapovalov to make it back to the top 10, and obviously Rublev to get to a finals of a Slam. Obviously, I don't know how many of those decisions were made with my head or my heart, but we'll see how many of them come off. Yeah, clean service game for Barrios there to get the break, to get the holds. Probably, definitely hard there. Favorite surface would probably be, well, to play on myself. I've got to say clay. I mean, I'm not really a clay court player. I'd say I'm definitely better on hard, but I just love sliding around on clay. I think it's so good. But yeah, definitely hard court. To watch as well, I'd say clay court tennis is sort of unmatched in a way. Obviously, pure just grind and grit and determination in the rallies. some of the rallies they produce is extraordinary. So yeah, I'd say probably it's harder obviously to watch because the matches are always so long and they always seem to be 3 sets. But yeah, I think hardcore, got to stick with it. I'm not really. I don't know. Wimbledon's a bit of a tricky one. It's because it's only you only play 2 tournaments on grass a year. It's so unpredictable, and I think that's why it's so impressive that you've had these players like Federer and Novak who have just dominated on a surface that is so unpredictable in the past. But yeah, I haven't really played on much grass myself. I used to play a bit in the summer, but also again, I think the grass courts I played on there weren't good enough, and the ball would just fly everywhere. So Tabilo needs to switch back on now. He needs to get a stranglehold on this game if he wants to close it out here. Just dropped off in the second set a bit. Yeah, it's nice from Tabilo, just forcing the error once again from Barrios. Ah, that's who it was. Talk to me a bit more about her, Jake. How is she, and why is she the inspiration? Where did that stem from? But yeah, Tabilo making waves in this service. It's a nice hold. Level at 3-all. Now entering the second half of this set. You feel like could go to a tiebreak, almost inevitable, unless Barrios Vera can sneak a cheeky break at some point. But it just doesn't look like it's going to happen against Tabilo. He's serving so well, um, flowing with confidence, and also is just forcing the error from Barrios Vera. Hasn't really got the answers. I think he's looked weaker on his forehand. Barrios Vera. He's kind of just trying to explode too much, and it's always just missing the line. I think he's got that backhand on lock that he needs to utilize it more, especially nowadays. Sorry, at this point in the set, you can't really be waiting for. And I know that you can't wait for Tabilo to make the mistake, but it's just so aggressive from Tabilo. Oh, it's got to be that good. What a winner down the line from Barrios. I mean, that's what happens when you got a game like Barrios. Those can either lick the line um, or just miss completely, and that one just stayed in. Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been any issues in this match so far, but yeah, it's strange. I mean, they've been coming onto the court quite a lot to pat it down at the back of the court. but not really anywhere on the actual court itself. Just behind the baseline. I think they're coming on, in between some of the points here, but I don't know if must be something dodgy. Yeah, wherever you are, there'll be a talking tennis colleague at that tournament. We got Juan Ignacio on the ground in Chile this week. Be sure to check more of the content out over on the Talking Tennis Twitter and YouTube channel. Keep up to date with all the action from Santiago. Could be heading to a tiebreak this set. The inevitable. Well and truly. Talking tennis making big waves in the tennis media scene. Yeah. For me, it's got to be that. It's the homegrown talent that's given a platform to really push on and make a name for themselves. And that's the best thing that comes out of it, for sure. Nabone as well is a great one. I remember watching him a lot last year on the Challenger Tour, especially towards the mid to back end of last year. Just madness. What a grinder, and it's so good to see him actually, getting to a final of a 250 at tour level. That's what the moments we're here for. Awesome. Do you know who you watched? There's some really good wheelchair players at the moment. Obviously, British in Gordon Reed and Alfie Hewitt, but actually Ito as well is incredible. He's Hewitt's sort of rival, and I came across him last year. He's actually the next gen superstar of wheelchair tennis. Yeah, the Argentinians have come out in full force. Diaz Acosta, obviously, all these guys have been on the Challenger Tour for a long time, but it's good to see them finally making a name for themselves. Awesome. Yeah, it probably was. This would be a big hold for Barrios Vera. One for the confidence if he can just hang on here. Was 40 love up, then was back to juice. So if he can get this hold here, that'll be one. Settle the nerves, maybe put the pressure back on Tabilo. Another opportunity maybe to break that he missed. Yeah, poor Nori as well. It's a shame because it was the same in I think it was in Auckland. He retired with a wrist injury, but yeah, he's obviously not feeling it in the heat. Back to juice. Tight game here. Sure, this might be a little bit of a turning point in the second set. Could this spark a longer comeback for Barrios Vera, or could it see Tabilo get a stranglehold on this game? Big serving like that is going to do the job, though. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it a lot. We saw it with Draper a couple of times, actually, obviously throwing up in the Australian Open, but a few years back in Miami, against Kukushkin when he fainted, well, collapsed on court midpoint. I think it was set point actually. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when you got, you're not used to the conditions. So tough, and that's why a lot of players are making their way out and basing themselves in these humid places. It's become such a focal part of, I think, of British. A lot of British players have chosen to go out to Spain and spend time in these academies where you get used to the humid conditions and also the clay. I think I wrote an article about it. Is why are kind of um, why is I think Spanish has probably produced some of the greatest tennis players, but why are a lot of these players coming from? And a lot of it's the weather. It's growing up playing on these clay courts. Um, teaches you so many positives in the game, patience, not only mental things but also technique. It forces you to really, really work for all of your points, and it instills a motivation in you. Mm, yeah, but what can you do? I mean, with the situation with the heat, how is that fixed? I mean, there was talk about more supplies, but you can't really. I mean, unless you wait till the evening to play, it's tough. I mean, otherwise you call the whole tournament off, but it's like a rain delay almost, but the other way around. But I don't think you can really, you know, battle against that. That is just the nature of it. Um, Obviously, medics on hand at all times, but there's no around it if the tournament is wanting to be played. Coming back to the all Chilean encounter here, that's a massive, massive hold for Barrios Vera. Came back from 40 love up. It didn't save any break points, but he was held back at juice a couple of times. Tabilo will rue that opportunity if he can't get a service hold here. Yeah, I mean that it definitely helps. Um, but yeah, it's so hard. I mean, yeah, there's so much talk about the scheduling issues at the minute in the sport. It seems like there's so many issues to talk about. But yeah, there's um, definitely a cause for concern for sure. 3-4. Tabilo back on serve. Yeah, I play. We were talking about this last live stream. I think um, someone asked me what kind of game I've got, and I said I'm 6'3", so I'm a bit of a serve and volleyer, but I'd like to think I have a bit of baseline game as well. So, but yeah, I'd say I've pretty big serve when it goes in. But yeah, pretty edgy start to the game for Tabilo. Just somehow winning that point after all of that work. Gets fortunate with the drop shot there, which was a poor one from Barrios Vera. Yeah, it's big. It's big again. Big serving again. I mean, that's been the key to this match for Tabilo. If he can hold on, it's been that serve. I think he's only dropped 1 point on first serve. It's incredible stats. Another one again, loose from Barrios Vera though. Give credit to Tabilo, but he's not asking much of Barrios Vera. He's just spraying it wayward. Yeah, the winner of this match to play Darderi in the quarterfinal. Of course, Luciano Darderi, who won Cordoba earlier the year from coming through qualies. He came through and won the title. How many times have we seen that at a 250 event, and let alone in South America as well? So that'll be a big matchup for these two guys. Either of them, whoever makes it through. It's another big hold. But it's just the same pattern of play. It's just loose from Barrios Vera. Tabilo could push on here. A couple of games away now. Was it in? I think it was called long, the return. Looked like it's just clipped the line though. Umpire's coming down to check the mark. Yeah, he's called it just out. Big serve. There'll be no love lost between the two when they take to court tomorrow in the semi-final of their doubles. That's another ace for Barrios Vera. He's matching it. I actually haven't been watching Acapulco. It's obviously as it's overnight. First thing I do in the morning is wake up and watch the highlights of the matches. But yeah, I've been keeping up to date with it. Saw that a couple of thrillers earlier, the Shelton Arnaldi match. I saw the highlights of, which was pretty epic. But yeah, just watching the highlights, keeping up to date. Haven't been watching it live though, as the timings are pretty hard to keep up to date with. Obviously, Demon or Tsitsipas has just started, and Draper early breakup over Kecmanovic. midnight for me in the UK now. Hoping that Tabilo breaks here and we can all go to bed. Doesn't look like it though. 40-30. It's a massive serve on the second. Just pushing the return long. And a break point for, a game point for Barrios Vera to close out the game and edge one game away from snatching a second set. It would be pretty, against the run of play if that were to happen. Unlikely though. Yeah, that's big. It's a big rush to the net there. I feel like that's a weight off his shoulders. I might just give him the confidence to go and push on and take the second set. Tsitsipas Demon was actually a great matchup over in Acapulco. I think the Demon's got him, Demon is having an incredible start to the year. And Tsitsipas, a bit shaky nowadays. Back end of last season, start of this. Tsitsipas is in shadow of his former self. So I think, falling outside of the top 10, I think the Demon takes it. Interesting to see what happens in that match. Barrios Vera just one game away from stealing, some would say, this second set. Yeah, such a good match from Demon in Australia. And then classic, everyone after saying, what is the wrist injury? I mean, he did look like he may have had a wrist injury, but and I know it's fair to say that Novak, he's always playing these kind of games, but maybe he did. But take nothing away from the performance from Demon. Good start to the game from Tabilo, opens it with a winner. It would be a cruel way to lose this second set if it were to happen here at 4-5. Serving at 4-5. It's what nightmares are made of. Ooh, the shanked return from Barrios Vera pays off and he takes advantage, sending it cross court with the forehand winner. 15-all. Takes a bit of time at the back of the court there to set himself. He knows this is his moment. Ooh. The second serve looked well long, but somehow it's clipped the line. Backed up again from the Chilean. I feel like that would have been a chance for Barrios there, but couldn't convert. I think that's just another bit of different. That's another bit of differential trait there between the two players. The lack of confidence, he looks unsettled. Tabilo looks way more settled in this match, um, and it's because of his caliber, because of his level. But then that's why it's so surprising to see the head-to-head at 0-4 and Barrios taking all of them. I think, yeah, maybe fair play. They were, when they played last year, they played twice last year in the Florianopolis final, as well as in a qualies for a 250. But they both got challenger success. They're both sort of coming up at the same time. But actually, now that Tabilo's pushed on, he's cemented his status as a tour player. He's obviously seeded at this event. He's seeded in 250s. He knows now that he is the better player. Maybe, it doesn't look to affect him today, but could have been a bad thing. But wow, Tsitsipas gets the early break in Acapulco. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Tsitsipas in recent times. Is he really a top 10 player? He definitely is. He's got such a great game, but he's one of the players in the top 10 that would always, you weren't really ever sure. It wasn't a bankable win. That's a poor error from Barrios, bringing up love 30. Kind of feel like you're nearing the end here. If Tabilo pounces. Change of the racket here, just before the serve. Triple break point. Yeah, it's never really a bankable one with Tsitsipas. I think even now, kind of, he's looked shaky. Who did he lose to in Los Cabos? Was it Thompson? Pretty sure he lost to, was it Thompson? No, Rude. Okay, that's sort of fair enough. But even then, Rude on hardcore. It's another questionable game. But yeah, we'll see if Tsitsipas can maintain his level near the top and not drop off, because once you start to drop out of the top 10, who knows where you might end up. Felix Auger-Aliassime went through I think it was 2022 when he went through that phase of just winning every tournament he played almost for a period. He won Rotterdam, I think it was, and then he won. I think it was 3 in a row. But now look, he's struggling to get wins and sitting. Where is he actually sitting? Interesting to see his ranking. He's under 30. Yeah, that's what happens. It somehow can drop away so quickly. 2 break points saved from Barrios going into the third one. This will be massive hold if you can hold here. and he gets it eventually. Another wayward shot from Barrios Vera sets up a pivotal break of serve. I really hope so, man. I really hope that especially team, gets back to a level that is worthy. I mean, I feel so bad for him the last couple of years, trying to come back from this injury, and it's like Murray, you're a shadow of your former self, but you know what you're capable of. It must be so frustrating. My heart says that team can make it back to this level, but really, I don't know if he can. But yeah, we were talking about it earlier with Shapovalov as well. And just how it's just upsetting to see someone, who's got so much potential, the potential they have, and they're not being able to fulfill it. So it's really upsetting. Wow. Looks like it might be a double break here for Tsitsipas over in Acapulco, leading 4-1. Back to Santiago, Chile, where Alejandro Tabilo, the number 4 seed, is serving out against his doubles partner and compatriot Marcelo Tomas Barrios Vera for a spot in the quarterfinals against Luciano Darderi of Italy. Obviously, coming off the back of both recording maiden ATP titles this year, so that'll be an interesting quarterfinal matchup between the two. If that is, of course, if Tabilo can hold this out, and it's looking like he will. Daddy loves some big serving. Yeah, I completely agree. That's why it's so gutting, because you almost know that it's not going to happen, but also then again, it's the hope that kills you at the end of the day. And seeing Murray and team go through what they're going through, it must think about how hard it is on them, and that's why when they get asked about these questions about retirement, it's such a fragile topic, because that is what they've worked so hard to achieve, and they know that they can achieve it, but it's just so far away. Welcome, Marco, coming in at the last moments here, as he has 3 match points on his serve, Alejandro Tabilo, to go through into the quarterfinal and play the Italian Luciano Darderi of Italy. Tsitsipas gets the double break over in Acapulco. 5-1 he leads. He's serving out that set. And that's all it. An embrace at the net between the two friends, compatriots. They'll be back on court together tomorrow in their doubles semi-final. But what a game. Barrios just didn't have the goods there. Too solid from Tabilo. He's showing what he's made of now. Gets his first win over his good friend at the 5th time of asking, and books his spot in the quarterfinals up against Italian Luciano Darderi. Ruud versus Shelton. It's a tough one to call that, Marco. I'm going to have to go with Shelton on that one. I think Ruud on hardcourt is questionable, even though he got to the final in Los Cabos last week. I think it's never really a bankable pick, but Shelton is looking powerful, explosive. Another one that's not bankable, but for me, I'm going I'm going Shelton. Ashley came at the wrong time. We're just finishing off here. But I've enjoyed it. I hope everyone enjoys the next few days of tennis. We've got lots of tournaments. Keep coming, live coverage all over on the Talking Tennis YouTube and socials. But yeah, keep up to date.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.